Chavre, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich begashmuswürdig. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy, physically and spiritually. Today is Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Bamidbar. We read always Parshas Bamidbar before Shavuos. Shavuos is Emir Hashem, Sunday night. We're going to speak a thought of the week and also for the festival of Shavuos. The hour is very, very late. The Melbourne Lichtbenchen is around an hour and a half. So we're going to have to cut it short, and I hope it will give a relative message and a lesson for us all. As usual, since the war started, we give tzedakah, Gedel tzedakah, Shem Karev Sagula, Mashiach should come now. Now we say a prayer, and the prayer is going to be connected to the subject matter that we speak today, and we don't realize how awesome this pasuk is, and we say it every single time when we open up the Oren and we take out the Torah and read from the Torah. And this is how we read it also on Simchas Torah. Vayehi bin Seyar and Vayem Meisha Ko Madinoi V'Yufutzo Yevecho V'Yinusa Misanecho Mipanecho. So whenever the ark, the urn would travel, would set out, Moshe would say, "Arise, O Lord Hashem, Kum Hashem, and your enemies will be dispersed, and your foes will flee before you." So whenever the Orain, the ark, would travel in the desert, we said this is what Moshe would say as the Yidden would start traveling. Now, by the way, this is a connection between Parshas Bamidbar, Nosai, and Ba'aleischa. There's many connections, but one connection is about the Orain in particular. So that's also the focus. Shavuos is Man Matan Tereseinu, particularly referring to the ark and the luchos, the tablets which were placed in the ark. Now, in this week's parsha, the pasuk Vayehi ben Soyer comes from Parshas Ba'aleischa. In next week's parsha, Nosai, which Shavuos is in the week of Nosai, is the mitzvah of the carrying of the ark, which the Leviim, Bnei Kahos, would carry the ark. But in this week's parsha, it speaks about how the Kohanim would cover the ark, and that's what we're going to focus on today. And while we're talking about it, we'll speak about the mission, Desert Shield. There's a name called Operation Desert Shield, which you'll Google it and you'll see what it meant. But I'm talking about the original Operation Desert Shield. I'm going to explain Pshat. Operation Desert Shield, what gave us the power to be protected from the negative environment of a desert. Now, in this week's parsha, it speaks about how the different job descriptions of the Kohanim and the Leviim, there's much to discuss, as the Rambam talks about in Sefer Avodah. So, but one of the things that were done by the Kohanim, the pasuk says, "V'nosnu olav kisui oir tachash." They shall place upon it a tachash hide covering, ufarshu beged klil tcheles mulmoila, and spread a cloth entirely of turquoise wool over it. Before that, they had to take the pareches and use that also as a covering. So there was the pareches, and there was the tachash, and then there was the klil tcheles. So what I'm going to tell you now is coming from a sikh of the Rebbe from 40 years ago. Shabbos Parshas Bamidbar Tofshin Mem Hey, 40 years ago, and I took it from a Svadius Mem Hey Chelik Dalid, Parshas Bamidbar, and page 2136 or 26 and further. The Rebbe teaches us a lesson which is so profound and so important, and that is as follows. And as usual, the message of empowerment always is emphasized in the Torah. You can have a person, and I think many people think about this. We're living life, and there's so much about life, if we're going to measure it externally, that is mundane. Not only mundane, but you could say annoying. I don't want to get graphic about eating, and then there's what comes after eating, and grooming, and taking a shower, being clean, hygiene. Obviously, everything's directed towards Hashem, because everything is kol masecha yil shem shemayim b'chol derechecha deyu. But still, if you look at the average person and you want to measure what does he do in a 24-hour cycle, and we think about how much time has to be regulated and designated for eating and sleeping and taking care of bodily things, and the body is limited, so limited, and things happen from small things to big things. Small things, you got a crack in your tooth, now you got to run to the dentist, now you got to get an appointment, now you got to deal with it. I'm just giving you a stupid example. And the same things in general. Electricity bill, this bill, forms, how much time you have to spend on a computer filling out this thing, that thing, the other thing, going shopping, whatever it is. Life, life on this planet Earth and all that it includes. Now a person can become very, very depressed when he thinks about what has to occupy the majority of your time. So one answer is that as much as possible, try to cause his gadbrus, hatsura alachimer, make it, first of all, infuse everything with the spirituality, so that it has a different definition, like reframing. Second of all, try as much as possible to cause that it should be the domination of the spirit over matter, so to speak. And third of all, and this is the main point which we're going to say today, is that you have to remember that is part of what you're doing here is, like we spoke many times, where it says, V'zeh kol adam, v'sachlis b'riyosei, uv'riyas kol ha'elames, el yoinim v'sachtoinim, lias lo yidirozoi b'sachtoinim. It's all part of the mission. V'zeh kol adam, this is the purpose of man, this is the totality of man. V'sachlis b'riyosei, the ultimate purpose of why he was created. The entire galaxy, the celestial beings, to make a dwelling place for Hashem down here below. Now, I think I mentioned this many, many times. My mashpia Melech Tzibul, he said that, if we have any question in Judaism, if you have a question in Judaism, just think in terms of Dira B'Tachtoinim, and that should answer it. Because if we say, that it was all about making a dwelling place for God down here below, making this world a better place, that's the whole mission, a holy place for Hashem. So that means that everything is included in that purpose, in that mission. So that's the answer. The answer is, what are you doing here? Why are you dealing with all those mundane things? Because the point was to infuse spirituality precisely in a world of limitations, in a world of a headache, in a world of bothersome, in a world of limitations, etc. Dira b'tachtoinim. And as the Alter Rebbe says, b'tachtoin shein tachtoin l'mata yemenu. So this, the Rebbe says, is what's going on over here. Person could think to himself, we have the Aron, we have the Torah. Wouldn't it be great if we could just hang out with the luchos, what's in the ark itself, or just remain in the Kodesh Kodashim, or close to the Kodesh Kodashim, the holiest of holies? And that's where we should spend the majority of time, and that's where the Aron should be the majority of time. But we say no. That there's a concept where the Aron has to be covered. And not only one cover, but another cover and another cover. And why? And this is what the Rebbe says. The purpose is because there's a mission. And the mission is that we're dealing with the Aron while it's covered. We're going to a hostile environment. We're going to a place called Tachtoinim, where the Aron has to be covered, and over there to bring out spirituality. And this is what the Rebbe says in the Sikh over there. One of the main points is that this is the paradox. On the one hand, we're dealing with the most holiest object. The luchos came from Shamayim. And even the second set of luchos, it was the holiest of holiest that had to be kept in an ark. And we have that with us. The holiest of holies, the Kodesh Kodshim, that's what's represented by the Aron and the Luchas that are in the Aron. Then we travel with it. So this is the paradox. On the one hand, we're traveling with the most powerful weapon, which stems from out of this world, representing Hashem himself. And then we take that itself, on the other hand, and we take it into the lowest environment. It has to be in a situation where it's not revealed. It has to be covered because we're dealing with a world, and the purpose of the world is to go into a tachtonim, and that's the message of why the ark has to be covered, i.e., that's part of the whole job description, part of the reality of our mission is that we're going to be dealing with a situation where the ark is covered. We don't see godliness totally in its full intensity, in its full expression. And in that itself, in such an environment, we have that power with us to be able to overcome all adversity and all challenges. So that's the paradox. And this is obviously very, very connected to Shavuos. As everyone knows, the famous sugya of Matan Torah, Masechta Shabbos, which I don't want to elaborate so much right now, the time is late, where the angels wanted the Torah, and then Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, what do you mean? But the Torah is given to humans. Do you have an evil inclination? It says only your parents. Do you have parents? Etc., etc. It's well known, this Gemara. Now, if you learn this Gemara without Chassidus, you could think to yourself that the whole Torah, in a way, was given to man. In other words, it's not a manual for angels, because they're holy. They don't have to be told the 10 Commandments. Don't commit adultery. Don't commit kidnapping. Don't be thieves. They're angels. They're better than that. They don't have to be told those things. You could look at it like that, mistakenly, without any understanding of what the Torah really is. But obviously, if they're asking for it, that means there's something that's in the Torah that they want, that they don't have. Even though we speak about the Torah as something which is spiritual and goes through all of Seder Shtalshalis. And the answer is, without getting into the deepest concepts of Chassidus, they don't have Atzmus U'Mahus Anoichi. They don't have the very essence of Hashem himself. They have levels of rays, reflections, light, Giluyim, Oir, but not Etzem. Where is the Etzem of Hashem? The essence of Hashem is in the Torah, but connected with Nis'ava HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Liyas Leis Baruch Dir B'Tachtonim. So in other words, they wanted the essence of what's in the Torah, which they're not getting, even though they're angels, and they don't have to be told about not committing murder or kidnapping or things like that. But on the other hand, guess what? Hashem wanted a resting place, a dwelling place down here below. He entrusted us with this mission, and therefore he gave us this Torah. And this power of Atzmus U'Mahus Anoichi is only in the Torah that we have on this planet Earth. And they wanted to have this Anoichi, this essence of Hashem, and they're not getting it. Why? Because Hashem desired the dwelling place down there below. We're not getting into the why he desired, but this is what he desired. And that's the whole purpose. So now, this goes together. The Rebbe explains that Sikha with why most of the job, most of the time, is to be outside of the Kodesh Kodshim, talking about until Mashiach comes, and we're in the mission of transforming the world and making the world a dwelling place for Hashem. Just like Moshe told the angels that since you don't have parents, therefore the Torah wasn't given to you, so too, but we who do have parents, and the words of the Torah are written to us. So it's not pshat that it's written to us because we're lowly, in the negative sense. It's because Hashem chose to insert his essence in the Torah, which accomplishes, which is the weapon, which is the power, which gives us to be able to transform the world. And the Rebbe in the Sikh over there also says that at the same time we have to realize that the purpose is not a Bamidbar, not a desert. That's this week's Parsha. Before he gets into this whole thing, which I'm discussing now, he says it's Parsha's Bamidbar. Before he gets into talking about the Aron, he says it's Parsha's Bamidbar, which means a desert. And that means we're living with this concept of desert and how we have to go into a desert. And then most of the time we're in the desert. And the whole point is to transform the desert. But at the same time we have to realize that's not what the ultimate is to come to Mashiach, where we're successful in transforming the desert, and then we come to Mashiach. But right now we have to know we're here on a mission in the Bamidbar, and we're given the Aron in its coverings to be able to deal with it. And maybe we'll leave that discussion for another time, as all the Mefarshim explain. Vayihi ben Aron. The Aron meant the highest levels of godliness. The Merkava, Pamali, Shamayla, Malachim, it all came. And like it said, it made the bumps in the desert or whatever it was. It made the path smooth. And that's what it means also. Anything that got in the way, enemies, which means opposition in any shape or form, whatever the opposition is, it's the koyach haTorah. Hashem oiz la'mayitin ein oiz el Torah. So this is what we have accompanying us always, wherever, whatever, in whatever sort of desert, limitations, darkness that you're in. Vayihi ben Aron. That's why it's such an amazing, amazing pasuk. Wherever we go, we have the Aron with us, though it may be in a state of a covering, but it takes care of all the opposition. As the pasuk says, etc. Now, this is also connected with another beautiful, beautiful pasuk. Many Jewish songs were attached to these words. That's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu, Beis, Kapitel Beis, pasuk Beis, where it says that Hashem says, Koyamar Hashem said, Zacharti lo chesed no'rayich, Avas kluloi soich, Lechtech achar b'midbar be'eretz lo yizaru. It's a very famous pasuk where it says that Hashem says, I remember to you the loving kindness of your youth, talking about the Yidden, the love of your nupitals. You're following me in the desert, in a land not sown. So this, the Eibishter, will always remember this for our merit. And it goes together with the famous story that the Eibishter went to all the nations and asked them if they want the Torah, and they said, what does it say in the Torah? Only he said, Nasa Kedem Nishma. We will do, and then we will hear. In other words, we got your back. And the same thing's over here. We're like the young couple that's running away. They don't even know what kind of house they're going to have. They're going into the desert. We are following Hashem in the desert. And Hashem says this is a merit forever. Because they could have said, what are we going to the desert for? We're going out of Egypt, which was the prime civilization of those times. Very developed. Where are we going? It's similar to the story with Avraham Avinu. Lech lecha. And it was one of the 10 Nisyanis. Where? El haaretz asher areka. We're not sure yet. Just go. So the same thing over here. The pasuk says Hashem will forever remember our loyalty and our love. That it was lechtich achre b'midbar be'eretz lo zarua. We went into a desert in a land which was not sown. So I remember Rabbi Groner, Chazon Yitzvort, Rabbi Yitzchak David Groner, and I think he was saying from the Rebbe that, and I think we mentioned this before, Be'eretz lo yizarua means not only a land which is not sown, where there's no fruits and vegetables and growth and produce, a desert, but what does it mean Be'eretz lo yizarua, in a land with a loy yizarua? You're going into a place where the loy, where the negativity is implanted. You're going into a place to start with, behind enemy lines, so to speak, where there's already an opposition. There's a loy. And we're going to go into that place which is a loy and to transform it. Al derech the famous Hayom Yom, I think it's Chaf Oder, where it says, Eish Tom Betukam Mizbech, Loi Sichbe, we have to take the Loi and annihilate it and extinguish it. The same thing is over here. We're going to a place of a Loi, where the Loi is a Ruah, and still, Dira Bit Tachtoinim, we're going into the Tachtoinim with the Oren and transforming it and making it into a Dira, Loi Yisbarich, Bis Tachtoinim. So obviously we have to realize that everything of this is all for our good, and that we're on a mission. And if we have that in mind all the time, that we're on this mission, the messenger has to always remember what the message is. As long as we have this in mind, that we're here on a mission, and we're always connected with the Oren, as the saying goes, as if you're connected above, you don't fall down below. So this is the message, and this is also the connection between Bamidbar, what we spoke today, and next week's Parsha Nosai. It talks about the mitzvah of carrying the Aron. So it's always about being connected to the Aron, and with the light of the Aron, and whatever the Aron could accomplish. So good Shabbos, and in honor of Shavuos, the famous Lashon of the Rebbeim is L'Kabbalah Satira B'Simcha B'Pnimis. Good Shabbos and a good Shavuos. Shavuos is also the Yemi Lula of the Baal Shem Tov. So the schus from the Baal Yemi Lula of the Baal Shem Tov should bring us all blessings and more blessings B'Tov Anira V'Nigla. And we should see and be makabel this Shavuos, the Torah Chadashim Miteitzei Begula Mitzah Shleima, take from Yad Mamish, posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarich, your man in Melbourne.